Hello from North Carolina. This is our 19th live session. Our plan is to go live every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to share fashion industry news from the previous week. If you are Hello from North Carolina, I just put myself on mute too, and I messed it up, but here I am with my weird hairdo. I don't know why I've got this dumb barrette in my hair and this little poof happening. I almost didn't want to go live, but I said the show must go on. But in any case, if you are team replay or team live, please let us know if you are joining, where you are joining from, by leaving a comment below. I'm going to switch my little banner there. And hopefully we've got the new banner there. So yes, as you're joining, let us know in the comments where you are joining from. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Rosalinda Cruz, and I am the founder and chief business development officer of the ASOR Collective, where we help underrepresented leaders in fashion with strategic planning and advising. Our mission is to support a more diverse and inclusive sustainable fashion industry by filling the leadership and ownership gaps in the apparel supply chain. So on these lives, I try to reconcile my love with fashion and retail with my values around sustainability, diversity, and inclusion. I try to advocate for supply change and raise buyer awareness. So my goal is really to reduce or eliminate, if possible, some of the silo effect which plagues this industry. And I don't think that it's something that's unique to the fashion industry. I think that that is something that a lot of industries struggle with. But really getting people to have conversations across different aspects of the apparel ecosystem. So that is sort of what I try to do. You know me, I love a good agenda. So here we are with our agenda. But in our time together, I try to cover all of these things. So I do my announcements, my planning PSAs, North Carolina news, because North Carolina is still the #1 textile producing state in the US. So that's why this state's news is relevant to our conversation. I also touch on product, service, workforce, and then the green carpet. And the green carpet is really where I talk about brands, concepts, and processes that are being called to the proverbial carpet. So we talked about this week after week, but there are no shortage of ethical dilemmas within the fashion industry and definitely sustainable fashion industry. We talked about the siloed effect and the infighting that can happen between farmers, manufacturers, vendors, academia, brands, journalists, activists, you name it. It can be rather contentious, but really what I want to do is create space where I'm bringing people together to have honest conversation of what's really going on in the industry and see if we can move the needle a bit. So my goal is really to talk about solutions and opportunities as we all try and do our best work. So I think that's it. As I mentioned last week, one of the things that we are desperately trying to do is get to 100 YouTube subscribers. So if you haven't done so, please go to our YouTube page and hit the subscribe button. Once we reach 100 subscribers, a lot of features are going to be unlocked for us, which I am looking forward to being able to tap into. So if you can help us with that, it would be greatly, greatly appreciated. So let's get into it. In terms of announcements and planning PSAs, I don't have any real announcements. Last week we had our executive roundtable, and we are already working on our next executive roundtable, which is actually taking place in April, and that is with our core group. And our core group will represents leaders throughout the apparel ecosystem. So they represent sort of the various links in the apparel supply chain. And I will reveal next week what we're going to be talking about with that group. But planning PSAs, last week I kind of went into much more detail around where you should be in your planning process. I'm getting a doggone nose drip tissue here. Sorry about that. Had to subject you to that, but better a tissue than a nose drip, right? In any case, so last week I went into a lot of detail around where you should be in your planning process. So please go back and listen to that. But one of the things that I wanted to call out, which are a couple of tools that I have created not only for my clients, but for the community, are I have a tool, which is a PDF, which is an ideal planning cadence, which really breaks down how you can do your strategic planning in 25 hours. One of the things that I encourage people to do is to download that PDF and basically insert block all of that time off in your calendar. So we just came off of March, and one of the things that I try to do is have people in February, block off 3 hours in the calendar so that they can refine their Q2 strategy. So go through, look at that planning cadence, block off that time on your calendar, so you're actually protecting that time and able to dedicate those 25 hours a year to your strategic planning. So in addition to the ideal planning cadence, I also have, every time I release a newsletter, which I'm supposed to release one today, I have a section in there called In the Coming Weeks. And in that section, it really breaks down from a macro planning perspective, right? Because I want to say that every business's planning needs are a little bit different, but when you look at it from a macro perspective, that is where you see the overlap. And I think that even just having a clear picture of what that macro planning process looks like would be super, super helpful. So that is in the newsletter, typically on the day after the newsletter release, which is on Wednesdays. I also share a little graphic of the it's called In the Coming Weeks, and it gives a little breakdown of where you should be, again, from planning perspective with design, sales, and marketing. So stay tuned for that. And then in North Carolina news, I want to give a shout out to Johnny Hackett Jr. of Black Dollar Corp. They are that's much closer to being in Walmart stores. So Walmart has a program around racial equity, and they are Black Dollar Corporation is actually working with another business called Seed Spot. And Seed Spot is a business accelerator, and they provide training they're going to be providing training to Black-owned businesses in North Carolina and ensuring that they have the core skills necessary to be in locations like Walmart and sort of those big brand box stores. So shout out to them. And also wanted to put in a plug for Black Friday Market, which provides commission-free retail space to Black-owned businesses in North Carolina. They also have an incredible directory of Black-owned businesses in North Carolina. And a lot of the businesses that are selling in this space, they actually just opened a second location in downtown Raleigh. But most of them don't have a brick and mortar location. They're operating almost exclusively online if it wasn't for Black Friday Market. So yay to them, their team, and all the work that they're doing to amplify the work of these incredible Black-owned businesses. So yay to them. Also in North Carolina news, so, Fashion for Good, which is an Amsterdam-based business, they are welcoming 8 innovative companies into its 2022 Global Innovation Program. And of those 8 companies, 2 of them are from North Carolina. So, Leila and Nika Mashouf of Ruby. They will be participating in the program. So Ruby is actually developing carbon negative textiles with synthetic biology, and they actually just raised $4.5 million in seed funding. So the second company that's going to be participating in this program is Premier Plastics, which is founded by actually, I think it's 3 UNC professors. And what they do is they create a continuous flow through system that helps. It provides a simple, circular, and eco-friendly method to chemically recycle PETs, which that is the um, abbreviation for it's basically polyester. I can't even pronounce what the polyethylene tetra whatever, but basically PET is the chemical abbreviation for polyester. So yay for those 2 businesses that are, I can't believe it, out of all of the businesses that applied, 8 were selected, 2 from North Carolina. So shout out to North Carolina for that. In industry news, so I actually wanted to call this out, but some of you may have seen. I think I shared a post on this last week, but Black Fashion Career Day 2022 is happening this week. It is brought to you by a nonprofit called Black Fashion World Foundation, and they are running programs all week. They have an incredible lineup of speakers. And also, I just wanted to thank Carla Y. Nelson for her genius in creating this program and bringing all of these incredible people together. So thank you to her. The other thing that I wanted to call out here or to highlight is that they actually have a scholarship foundation. So I will be sure to put the link to that scholarship foundation in the comments. They are looking to raise funds. So if you are open to donating, please do so. And I know that registration closed on the event last week. It is targeted more towards students, but anybody can attend. I am still not technically a student, but I'm always learning. So I love participating in these events. And to be perfectly honest, I love connecting with emerging leaders. That's where I get a lot of my energy from. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to participating this weekend. Also in industry news, so according to a survey published by the World Trade Organization and the United Nations, Vietnam is the most attractive apparel sourcing location. So Vietnam is seen as being as good as China in terms of its production quality, as well as its pricing structure. And there is a lot of really incredible innovation coming from Vietnam, also from a sustainability perspective. I know that there's actually a great company called, I believe they're called SciTech, but they produce denim. And I believe they have, don't misquote me on this, but they have created a process that reduces water use in the production of denim. And I know that also they have a process for repurposing the sludge, right, that is created as part of the denim making process. And that sludge is turned into bricks, and homes are actually being built out of these like denim sludge bricks. So I thought that that was really interesting. And now they do have a presence in the U.S. I believe they actually opened a U.S. location. I want to say in LA, maybe right before the pandemic started, but right around that time. So that was interesting that I wanted to share that. Also in product news, so Wrangler is expanding its rooted collection of jeans and shirts that are grown, cut, and sewn in the USA. They are going to be expanding this collection for spring of 2022. And the brand has introduced men's and women's jeans made, like I said, completely from US grown sustainable cotton. And they actually, you can buy jeans and shirts, which were made exclusively in Alabama, California, North Carolina, and Texas. I believe Alabama is the newest state that is being added to the list for the Rooted collection, but don't quote me on that. And what else? No service news. I didn't have any service updates. And in terms of workforce updates, no workforce updates either. And here we are at the green carpet. So again, the green carpet is really where I talk about brands, concepts, processes that are being called to the proverbial carpet. We talked about all the ethical dilemmas and silo discussion and all of that not so fun stuff. But in any case, I try to use this space. And I'm pausing for a moment here because I feel like a broken record, but I also feel like it's important to touch on this. But one of the reasons that when I first started doing the green carpet, I feel like I did it because I wanted to just highlight, right, some of the challenges within the industry. But shortly after I launched this segment, I actually heard a segment on NPR from Professor Loretta Ross, who is a professor at Smith College. She does a lot of work regarding white supremacy. And one of the things that she talked about, she actually has a TED Talk where she talks about call out culture and how, in call out culture, which I think is definitely very prevalent within the sustainable fashion space. I feel like there is a lot of calling out that happens. But she talked about calling people in, and how when you are calling people in, you aren't sort of giving them a pass on their, wrongdoings or anything like that. But you're really actually setting the conditions for honest conversation. Because what happens when you call people out is that people come sort of on guard, right? And they're not ready to discuss solutions, but actually defend, right, their fill in the blank, right? So I'm actively trying to call people in. I am doing this in real time, and it is sloppy, messy, ugly. I'm going to have some missteps. It's just something that I'm going to be actively practicing, and you're going to be watching it. So, oh yeah, one thing I want to come back to this. But Something that I have been seeing a lot of in the last couple of weeks is Kim Kardashian is in the news, and I um, I had to pause for a minute there because people have a lot of feelings when it comes to the Kardashian, a lot of which I share. Um, and I don't always like to add to their voice, if that makes sense. But one of the things that I felt was important to talk about is that so Kim Kardashian has been in the news. There are a million memes out there regarding her statement telling women to get your blank in, blank up and get to work. And really, there's a lot of problems with this. It's super tone deaf, not acknowledging her privilege. But from a sustainable fashion perspective, I think that one of the biggest um, challenges in hearing this is that Skims is actually this is a line of shapewear that's made by Kim Kardashian, but it is actually produced in Bangladesh, right? And Bangladesh is or the garment workers in Bangladesh are predominantly women and women of color. And uh, Kim's workers are making about $96 a month and working 10-hour workdays, right? So it to say that it's a bit of a rub, I think is an absolute understatement for her to be telling women to, you know, get up and go to work when there is a large group of women who are actively being exploited by her company and not being paid their fair wages. In addition to that, we also talked about the accord, which I know that a bunch of organizations were working on having legislation that passed, which would ensure fair pay for workers in Bangladesh. And this is a work that really began as a result of the Rana Plaza collapse. And that accord expired sometime last year, and thank goodness that it was renewed. And I'm blanking on what its new name is. But the other point that I wanted to make is that Kim and Skims did not sign the accord. So, in addition to her, urging women to get up and work, and talking about, basically the poor work ethic while she is exploiting a tremendous amount of women of color, she is not advocating for the change. So, I just did a mini eye roll. But that's what's happening with Kim. So that's what I wanted to call out on the red carpet today. I don't know if anybody else had any thoughts about that and wanted to sound off in the comments. But I mean, nobody wants to be exploited, right? I mean, that's really the point of all of this, and I think that um, if you're going to be making statements like that, I think that you should be doing your due diligence and ensuring the safety of your workers and the safety of women workers, right, around the world. Use your privilege for good. So that's that. Um, and I think that is it. Sorry, I rambled on a bit. But that brings us to the end of our time together. So thank you everybody who was able to join. Again, if you are Team Live or Team Replay, leave your name in the comments. Let us know where you are joining from. Let us know what questions you have, or if you have news that you want me to highlight in next week's live, right? So just wanted to recap that I'm going to be releasing a newsletter this week. Check out the Ideal Planning Cadence, and in the coming weeks, I think those are really great tools. Our plan is to go live, like I said, every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And our mission is to support a more diverse and inclusive sustainable fashion industry by filling the leadership and ownership gaps in the apparel supply chain. So thank you everybody for joining and putting up with this weird little poofy thing and this giant red. But I'm gonna hook it up next week. I feel like I'm gonna get my glam on. But in any case, thank you everybody for joining. We will see you next week. Bye.